From Fox 5, News Edge at 11 starts now.
What we need to do as women, organize, don't organize, organize.
Today is the first step in America becoming a nation that values people's lives, that has equality for women. I'm so freaking excited!
Precedent overturned. The Supreme Court has now overturned Roe versus Wade. People across the country taking to the streets to protest while others are celebrating the pro-life win. We have live team coverage tonight. Eric Perry followed along with protesters in Atlanta. Christopher King will tell us what other Supreme Court rulings could be at risk in the future. But we begin tonight with Fox's Caroline Shively. She joins us now live from outside the Supreme Court. Caroline, you've been there all day. Tell us more about reaction to this landmark decision.
You got it, Tom. 13 hours after these demonstrations began, shortly after the Supreme Court dropped this bombshell ruling, it appears the demonstrators are now going home, vowing they will be back tomorrow, the next day, and next week. Because of what the Supreme Court ruled today, of course, abortion could soon be illegal in at least 13 states. Emotional outbursts from pro-life and pro-choice activists outside the Supreme Court after one of the most monumental rulings in its history. The opinion in a Mississippi case challenging abortion rights, overturning Roe versus Wade, the case that for years guaranteed the right to an abortion in the United States. Now abortion becomes an issue decided by individual states, 13 of which have so-called trigger laws to ban abortion upon Roe versus Wade's reversal.
What this means to women is such an insult. It's a slap in the face to women.
Conservatives hailing the ruling. The majority opinion authored by Justice Samuel Alito writing, quote, "The Constitution makes no reference to abortion and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision."
Today we do give voice to the voiceless, and I am hopeful that the state legislatures across the country will take action and swiftly pass protections for our vulnerable babies.
The White House reacting quickly to Roe's downfall, calling it a sad day for the country and saying the decision puts the health of women at risk.
It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court.
The president insisting he can't change abortion laws with executive orders and pointing to November's congressional midterm elections, saying Roe and personal freedom are on the ballot. Both sides say they will take this fight to the halls of Congress, fighting on for federal legislation. Tom, back to you.
Caroline, thanks. The Georgia Life Alliance executive director learned of the news at the National Right to Life Convention. Martha Zoller says people inside were cheering, smiling, and crying tears of joy as they celebrated the pro-life decision. Georgia's heartbeat law banning abortion after 6 weeks is being legally challenged. But Zoller says the Supreme Court decision is a step in the right direction.
I don't think this necessarily means there is going to be this, explosion of unwanted babies born, because I think that we've done a really good job of educating people on options.
Pro-life advocates plan to offer housing and support to women who choose to go forward with pregnancy. More than 11,000 protesters took to the streets in Atlanta tonight. They marched from Centennial Park to the Georgia State Capitol. News Edge reporter Eric Perry has been following all afternoon and into the evening and joins us now live to share their stories tonight. Eric?
Yeah, good evening, Tom. Protests really throughout the city of Atlanta. One group started at Centennial Olympic Park, then they marched here right to the state capitol, where they joined with hundreds of others, all voicing their frustrations. They then took to another march throughout the city.
Is extremely vital. I would not be able to live with myself if I was not standing here right now.
From Centennial Park.
Being here means that this is our last resort.
To the steps of the Georgia State Capitol.
The people support abortion. What do we want? Abortion rights. What do we want? Now.
The air in downtown Atlanta filled with those opposing the Supreme Court decision that was announced Friday morning.
So to actually see it in writing, I just burst into tears immediately.
The dozens of people gathered at Centennial Olympic Park, they took to the street and marched to the state capitol.
Our street! Our street! Because I'm pissed off!
joining in with a massive crowd from all over the country.
Abortion is a human right.
I think we're out here just to stand up for what we believe in. I think we could stay at home and cry all day, which we did, but we're out here like letting our voices be known.
Next is revolution, getting out into the streets. It's not time to sit back right now. It's time to use your voice.
If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down.
Now, we do want to make mention that there were people who supported the Supreme Court's decision. They also were out as well. Of course, they didn't mix happily with those who were against that decision. We didn't see any violence or anything like that. They just ripped up a couple of signs here. Everything remained peaceful. One law enforcement agent told me that he expected about 1,500 people were out here earlier today. They left and went home around 9 o'clock, but they tell me they will be back out here tomorrow around 5 o'clock, and they are expecting an even bigger crowd. That's the latest here at the state capitol. I'm Eric Perry, News Edge at 11.
Great perspective from out there, Eric. Thanks. Governor Brian Kemp sent out a statement praising the High Court's decision. He says, quote, "Today's landmark ruling is a historic victory for life. I look forward to its impact on the legal proceedings surrounding Georgia's Life Act and hope our law will be fully implemented and ultimately protect countless unborn lives here in the Peach State." Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams calls the decision an assault on our liberties.
Women today lost the right to make our own healthcare decisions and the right to shape our own futures. As a woman, I am appalled. As a Georgian, I am enraged. As an American, I am disgusted by this abdication of all we hold dear. We are better people than this, and we deserve to have our freedoms protected, not stripped away.
As we've reported, the Supreme Court's decision now leaves it up to individual states to regulate abortions. Governor Brian Kemp signing the Life Act into law more than 3 years ago. It's one of the country's most restrictive abortion bills, which would ban most abortions in Georgia after a fetal heartbeat is detected, which is around 6 weeks of pregnancy. The bill does include some limited exceptions for rape or incest when the victim files a police report, as well as for medically futile pregnancies. Earlier tonight, the Georgia Attorney General's office sent a notice to the 11th Circuit requesting that they allow the heartbeat law to take effect. It's not clear how quickly the appeals may rule. We're continuing our team coverage after the break. We'll tell you why some Americans are concerned that the Supreme Court ruling allowing same-sex marriage could be overturned. We're continuing our team coverage tonight on the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote a separate opinion earlier saying the court should review other precedents. News Ed reporter Christopher King joins us now from the live desk to tell us what this could mean in the future. Christopher?
Tom, in that concurring opinion, Justice Clarence Thomas urges colleagues to revisit other major rulings like same-sex marriage, the decision striking down laws criminalizing same-sex consensual relations, and the right to use contraceptions. Tonight, I speak with a constitutional law expert. He says today's ruling means what appeared to be guaranteed constitutional rights are not necessarily guaranteed.
If it shows us anything, it's that no constitutional right is set in stone.
Justice Clarence Thomas says the High Court should reopen other landmark cases.
Are Supreme Court rulings on same-sex marriage, gay sex, or the use of contraceptives in danger of being overturned?
Yes.
Professor Shlomo Pill is a senior lecturer at Emory's Law School.
We could imagine a world in which those other rights are in danger.
Justice Samuel Alito writes in the majority opinion, Friday's decision should not cast doubt on other cases. Pill says those rights don't appear to be in immediate danger.
So this is the big open question that remains to be seen.
Those cases and other decisions are built on the right to due process in the 5th and 14th Amendments. But Justice Thomas argues all other decisions based on the Due Process Clause should be reconsidered. He says, quote, substantive due process lacks any basis in the Constitution.
Professor Pill also tells Fox 5 this ruling is unlike any other that overturned past long-standing precedents. Why? He says this decision takes away an established and guaranteed right.